Let's take a look back at my top movies from 2021. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Movie Ranker, and today I have reached the year 2021 for my top 5 movies. A pretty solid year for film. This was right after the first year of the pandemic, so a lot of movies got canceled or postponed in 2020 and were only released this year. So we got quite a bit of films here, and yeah, some pretty good quality ones. So without wasting any more time, let's get into my top 5. So kicking things off at number 5, I got Spider-Man No Way Home. What a great film for fan service, bringing back all the Spider-Mans from the other universes and putting them together. We got Tobey Maguire here, Andrew Garfield, and our most recent Tom Holland all together, and it's just something we never expected to see, but they finally pulled it off. And it was just great, especially for the fans. And they don't only just bring back the Spider-Man, but we also get all the old villains from both the Amazing Spider-Man and the Sam Raimi trilogy, which is really cool. Really cool to see Doc Ock back again. William Dafoe as the Green Goblin, even Electro in that. I feel like this is a much better version of Electro than what we got in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So they even fix certain characters when they bring them back. It packs an emotional punch, with Aunt May, and the way that whole thing plays out. I just did not expect it to happen this way, and it definitely is a gut punch. We get lots of great action in here, especially in the final act, and I do like that Andrew Garfield Spider-Man gets kind of redeem himself by saving the girl this time where he failed in his own movies. So an all around great film. I have a few little nitpicks. Of course, the way everything gets messed up with Doctor Strange and Tom Holland Spider-Man is kind of ridiculous and very childish. And I think they could have came up with a better way to get us in that situation with the multiverse and whatnot. But everything else is just so good. And I'm real interested what they do in the future with Spider-Man, because by the end of this one, nobody knows who Peter Parker is, right? His best friend, his girlfriend. They all forget him. So I'm real interested to see where they take this franchise. Up next, at number 4, I got The Night House. Now, I am not a fan of haunted house, ghost, or supernatural type horror movies. Big horror fan, but that's one of my least favorite subgenres. I feel like it's pretty generic and it's been done so many times. But this movie is an exception. It does it different, it does it right, and in a way that had me really intrigued from start to finish. We deal with a grieving wife here. She lost her husband, and she starts to have ghostly experiences happening, and she's wondering, is that her husband trying to communicate with her? And as the movie goes on, we start to learn clues about who her husband really was and what type of person he was. And it makes a real interesting story, and it makes you guess, is that really her husband or something else, maybe something more demonic? And the whole final resolution is great. I love it's kind of like a little twist at the end there I really enjoyed. The cinematography is beautiful in here, and the performances are amazing. Great performances all around. It's definitely one to check out. And it's also one of those films that really make you think after you see the ending and you see how everything plays out, and you're like, I gotta rewatch that and see if I pick up all the clues along the way. And it had me searching on the internet to see if my theory was right. And I just love movies like that make you think afterwards. Up next at number 3, we got Malignant, the newest James Wan film at the moment. And yeah, what a friggin' surprise this was. This movie is dripping with mystery from start to finish, and you're always trying to guess what's really happening here and how are things playing out and who is this villain. And I can't give you those answers in this video because I'll completely spoil this movie. You better check it out on your own because it is batshit crazy. The twist is so bizarre but unique at the same time, and it just kind of blew my mind the first time I watched this. And aside from all the horror stuff, we actually get some great action in here. In the third act, there's like a whole like John Wick scene. The way they're doing choreographed fight, it's just so well done. And just the contortionist type movements the villain is doing. It's just crazy. The performances are amazing here, and on top of that we get great visuals and cinematography in here. The colors really pop. There's scenes where our main character gets transported into another room or like another place, and the way the walls come down and everything when she's getting transported is so cool. And the colors just pop, like the reds especially. It almost looks like a Giallo film. uh, i'm I'm especially certain that this was heavily influenced by those Italian films of the 70s and early 80s. Just the style of it all in all, like I said, this movie is one that's hard to talk about without spoiling, but you guys should definitely check it out if you're interested. Up next at number 2, I got Last Night in Soho, the newest film by Edgar Wright. Probably my favorite director of all time. You know, did Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He did so many good flicks, and this one is no exception. It's so friggin' good. For starters, it's about this young girl who moves to England, to London, to pursue a career in fashion, but she has a gift where she can see stuff from the past, and she gets involved in this unsolved crime and kind of like murders and that happen where she lives in Soho, and especially taking place in her apartment, and she's trying to unsolve the mysteries in that. And this especially happens when she sleeps. And when she sleeps, she sees Anya Taylor Joy's character, which I love too. So it was really cool seeing her in this flick. And the movie just takes you on a ride. I was kind of confused the first time I watched this because I thought it was going to be a straight up horror movie, but we really don't get any of that until the second half. The first hour is really set up more like a drama mystery, but then when the horror stuff does happen, it does get pretty crazy and wild. We get this crazy twist at the end, and I love a good twist in my horror movies. And this one was awesome. It's one of those ones where you have to rewatch the film right after to see if you can pick up all the clues and Easter eggs they left behind, because they are there, but you just don't pick up on those things on your first time watching. Another great thing is the soundtrack. We get a lot of cool, like, old school music in here, like from the 60s or so, or even like the 50s. Our main character is real into that type of music, so that's playing all the time, and it just makes for a very different type of soundtrack. And on top of that, in this movie, we again get great visuals, just like in Malignant. Lots of blues, reds, pinks coming into the room, a lot of neon type colors. There's a sign outside of her apartment, so it shines in and it makes for a great set design. It's just an extremely original film with a great premise and mystery behind it that keeps you engaged from start to finish, and it's done so professionally. Like, Edgar Wright has really become one of the best filmmakers of all time. Before I share my number 1, here are a few honorable mentions. Ghostbusters Afterlife, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Free Guy, the Fear Street Trilogy. But for me, coming in the first place has to be The Suicide Squad. Man, was this ever a fun flick. I am not a big fan of the first Suicide Squad we had. That is like a mixed bag for me, but this one is perfect in almost every way. We got James Gunn directing it this time, and the studio let him do whatever he wanted, and you can tell his humor is laced from start to finish in here, but also his violent action and no holds bars. Like, there's some crazy shit that happens in here, like people getting shot and their heads being flipped up and everything. It is crazy, and I love that. One of those superhero movies that don't feel safe, like a lot of the MCU films we've been seeing recently. One of our main anti-heroes here is Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba, and I think he makes one of the best superheroes ever. He's just so badass. He's like the Rambo of superhero villains, superheroes, I should say, or anti-heroes. He's just so cool. He's so precise with his shooting, and his style of fighting and combat is just so cool. And it's cool to see him always trying to outdo Peacemaker, and they're kind of going back and forth. And John Cena plays a great Peacemaker. Of course, they made the TV show after him. And of course, Margot Robbie is also great as Harley Quinn. All of our main cast is great. Even Stallone playing a shark. They somehow make this animated shark that can barely talk have emotion, an emotional connection to you. You know, there's things that happen in this movie that where you feel bad for him. You're like, wow, he's really able to pull that off. And James Gunn is the best at taking a group of characters, a big group, an ensemble like Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever, and making them all fleshed out and really fun to watch. You know, this is an extremely entertaining movie. It's bloody, it's vulgar, it's everything I want from a superhero movie nowadays that we rarely get unless you're talking about like Deadpool and stuff like that. It's more in that vein. Some people might find the movie a little too silly at times, like Polka Dot Man, you know, and seeing his mother all the time and being pissed off at her. To me, it doesn't cross that line of silliness too much. I think it's perfectly balanced in my mind. The tone is great, but for some people, they'll definitely not jive with this, maybe. Especially the whole ending monster, the big ass like starfish. But to me, it all just worked out perfectly. It was funny. It's everything I want from one of these movies, and it easily comes in the first place for 2021. So there you have it, guys. There's my top 5 films from 2021. I would love to hear your top 5, and I'd love to hear some films maybe I haven't even watched from this year. I've seen, I think, around 60 or so, but I'm sure I missed some good ones. So make sure you drop your top 5 down in the comment section below, especially if you have some hidden gems or anything for me. Doesn't matter the genre. I watch all genres. Even though I'm a big fan of horror, I like all films, guys. I'm a movie fanatic, so make sure to drop those below. You can follow me on Letterboxd and Instagram. Links to those are in the description of this video. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.